Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, to Championship Showdown Day, a Super Sunday here in Beijing at a brand new street circuit for the final rounds of GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. It is a beautiful, beautiful day. An early morning start for our drivers and teams, getting ready for race one of our weekend. And plenty of challenges await around this 4.9 kilometer circuit. It's possibly the best conditions that we've seen across the weekend so far. Blue sky over Beijing. We're about half an hour to an hour's drive from the very center of the city, in the southern part, in what is going to be known as E-Town, a developing economical area for technology. And a beautiful Tongming Lake Park that the circuit surrounds. A brand new venue, brand new tarmac, brand new everything. And the facilities here at the Beijing Street Circuit are world class. For those in the buildings, hotels and apartments around the area, they are about to get their Sunday morning wake-up call from 24 GT3 cars blasting around what is one of the wider street circuits that exist in world motorsport. It is not going to be a follow-my-leader affair. There's plenty of width for overtaking, and big challenges await. Slight change in the original timetable has meant that we are running race one here on Sunday morning, with the original timetable for the afternoon session for the final round of GT World Challenge Asia for 2025. Having visited Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, our spiritual home in Japan, and finishing off here in China. Here is the circuit then. Say 4.9 kilometers in length, a total of 12 turns, and effectively the lake in the center of that wider part, and then through a different couple of streets around E-Town through the middle section of the lap. Many of the corners medium to high speed, apart from turns 9, 10 and 11, which are possibly the slowest corners on the calendar. A big stop and actually a no overtaking zone for our teams and drivers, because of the narrowness of that challenge. Right, you'll still have to get through it, and to get through it efficiently. Of our drivers, we've actually seen a pretty incident-free weekend so far. And here is the calendar. We started off in Malaysia, in Sepang in April. Went to a brand new circuit in Indonesia in May, the Mandalika International Circuit. And then our final visit to Thailand in the middle of the year, before a double dosing of Japanese culture, and finishing our year here in Beijing. It's been a varied year. It's always a challenge to get as much. And let's now have a look at the circuit proper on board.
Hi, I'm Maxi Mosen, driving the 89 KRC car here in GT World Challenge Asia, and we're driving now the brand new Beijing street circuit. So, arriving here on the main straight, it's going up to 5th gear, quite high speed, braking up to quite a bumpy T1. We need to be quite careful on the brakes, else we overshoot quite easily into the ABS here. It's a 2nd gear corner. We try to not clip the wall, but being as close as possible. On the exit as well, we need to watch out quite a bit. Here, T2, flat, going over 200 kph. Watching out a bit for the traffic here. Everyone warming up the tires. 6th gear, hard braking zone from 240. Here as well, like super close to the walls. It's super cool. So here at T4, everything is quite low speed here. Almost everything is second gear. So it favors the cars that have good traction. So it's important to have the traction in a good window here. It's a lot of stopping and going. So we just try our best to get the car in a nice window. Going into T6. Here you have a quite nice place. You're going underneath the shopping mall in Beijing. So here we pass the sphere, like a mini version of Las Vegas, super cool to see. It's quite hard to have a good braking point for T7 now with the sunset, so you try to just maximize everything you can get as close to the walls as possible. Here we have the fun part of the track. It's chicane, where I think it's the lowest speed corner of the full calendar. So we end up on 40 kph. Then we go full send to the last corner. And it's the first time in 20 years that Beijing is on the calendar again. Super nice street track, super good build. Good race for SRO to host here. So I'm really enjoying and looking forward to the races.
And that's taken on Friday afternoon when the circuit was still dirty, when the circuit was very much new to everybody. The times have tumbled down over the last couple of days. And it has been very, very fast into the 145 by the end of qualifying. Let's now find out our full preview with Tom Hornsby.
These 7 crews will battle for the GT World Challenge Asia powered by AWS driver's title this weekend, when China's capital hosts the season finale here at the brand new Beijing street circuit.
2 60-minute contests close out a 12-race campaign that has already visited Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand and Japan. However, this is the first time the championship has ever competed on a street circuit, which has been built specifically for this event.
The 12-turn, 4.9-kilometre track winds its way through modern architecture and the Tongming Lake Park in Beijing's economic technological development area, otherwise known as E-Town.
Bob Yuan and Liu Yi start as favourites to retain their crown thanks to a 14-point lead over compatriot and Origine teammate Lu Wei, while 3-time race winner Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim lies 1 point further back. 2023 champion Anthony Liu and his Phantom co-driver Dorian Boccolacci are also in the mix, albeit 20 points behind.
Those 3 chasing crews must take advantage of the leading Porsche's 10th-place Race 1 grid penalty that Yi received for triggering Okayama's start line accident.
With 50 points available for winning both races, the championship outsiders are very much silver class leaders Chen Kongfu and Yu Kuai, and silver AM champions-elect Ruan Kunfan and Maxi Mosen. Cao Chi completes our magnificent 7.
Elsewhere, Garage 75's David Tiptoe Biantoro looks set to retain his AM class title. He and Christian Colombo hold a comfortable advantage over Ben Porter and Setiawan Santoso.
GT World Challenge Asia is joined in Beijing by the SRO GT Cup, a new GT4 championship based in China that began at the Chinese Grand Prix earlier this year. The 4-round season concludes in Macau next month. The global GT World Challenge is also reaching its climax. The Indianapolis 8-hour takes place this Saturday before the 30-event campaign concludes at Hampton Downs in New Zealand next weekend.
And so a reminder of those overall points coming into this championship deciding weekend. And Bob Wan and Liu Yi leading by 14 over Wei Lu, 15 over Prince Jeffrey, 20 over Anthony Liu and Dorian Boccolacci. James Yu Kuai and Chen Kongfu leading the silver title, probably going to be focusing on that rather than the overall, but they still have a mathematical opportunity, as do Kun Fan Ruan and Maxi Mosen in the 89 BMW, but they'll be thinking about silver AM, and Tao Che in 7th position with a very outside chance of keeping his championship alive. Remember, this is race 1. We still have race 2 coming up this afternoon, so for many of them, it will be about staying alive rather than winning. And I think with the closeness, and as you'll see in a few moments, the grid itself, it's possibly that we won't see a championship crown in race one, but really anything can happen. There's the rest of our points in the overall category. In the silver standings, it's a little bit more simple with James Yu Kuai and Frankie Chen Kong Fu with 181 points, 16 over Andy Dung Yi. He cannot lose more than 8 on that 45 car, which must win with a Ferrari in third. Jiatong Liang with a mathematical opportunity, as does Rio and Sean Thong for Uno Racing. The rest of them out of contention, but Daniel Frost not here. Darrell O'Young taking over that car and basically here to support Jiatong Liang's opportunity. And Liang Jiatong, a local to Beijing, and therefore will be hoping to have success here. Lots of permutations in the silver category, as there is in the overall category. It is much more simple in silver AM and AM, as cars begin to make their way onto what is quite a narrow start finishing straight here. Massive differences in width around this circuit. Let's firstly, before we look at more points, go down to Amy, who caught up with Bob Wan a little bit earlier.
So we are here about to start race one. This is it. This is the day. Today you might be crowned champion. I'm pretty sure you had a meeting before Bob got into the car. One strong question: will you go for it at race one, or will you play it safe and pull it out to race two?
I think both races we have to go for it because we're starting the back. And yesterday, for my body, it was a disaster. I don't have a good position, plus we found a mechanic issue on the car, so we don't have the speed. Bob did really well. It's a shame we had a penalty from last race, so we had to start from the back.
So it is very, very cold this weekend. Is that an issue for your tires?
Yeah, it takes a long time to warm up the tires, so usually we don't race in this temperature, but it is what it is.
All the best luck to you and have fun in the final races.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bob Wan already in the car, taking the car out onto the grid. Therefore, we caught up there with Liu Ye instead. Of course, the two of them are champions from last year. They should really be running the #1 on their car, but instead they chose to keep the 87 and looking to go as a 2-time champion. Cars on the grid. Amy's already tidying up some of our interviews. And it's been a great qualifying session for the two Harmony Racing Ferraris who occupy the front row of the grid. Let's go back down to Amy.
So here with Deng Yi starting P1. I think it's a great feeling starting P1 in your home country. How do you feel? You must be very nervous because the track is very cold.
Yeah, for sure it's a bit nervous. Firstly, we can't guess that Beijing can take place this World Championship area as the final season this year. And about us, I think I've got some electronic issues during my first flying lap in qualifying 1. So I didn't secure our 4th pole this year, which is a regret for us. And yeah, now we are still P2 in our silver class championship, and we can take this advantage. Now we are start from P1 today. So yeah, let's see how it happens, and we can. I hope everything is smooth and there's no safety car, and we can take advantages here to keep our position. Try to grab our P1 in our class.
All right, great. Thank you very much and enjoy the race.
Yeah, thank you.
96, still part of the championship fight on the front row. The 55 has had many different drivers in it across the year. Zhang Weiqi, the last time we saw him was back in Mandalika, where he crashed the 44 Climax Mercedes. Jumped it now in the Ferrari for the last weekend, alongside Yifei Ye, the Le Mans champion from this year. So a really strong lineup. Obviously, Ye Yifei, very, very celebrated here in China, and that's a great opportunity for Harmony to take a victory. Obviously, the 55 not involved in any time of championship. The 96 will want to take a good, strong result ahead of the 45, the Audi of Frankie Chem and James Yu Kwai, because in silver category, they lie 16 points back. And so they will want to, they cannot lose more than 8 on the 45. And of course, at the moment, lie ahead of them by dint of their starting position. Another really good, strong qualifying for the 321. Now, this is a car that has been a silver AM machine throughout the year with many different AM drivers, but Daniel Lu alongside him. It's a silver car this weekend because it has Nazim Azam aboard it. Let's go down to Amy, who's got Lu Wei.
So last season it was quite not what you wished for the championship, but this season you are still in it. You need to stay in front of the cars behind you. What's the strategy?
The strategy, I'll let Bob go first. He's so much faster on the street track. I'm not so good here, and also we had some mechanical issue yesterday during qualifying session. So I think Bob have a bigger chance than me. I'll let him go first, see what he can do. So maybe I'll take chances and following him, hopefully passing 1 or 2 cars and holding my positions. I'm just mostly want to enjoy this circuit because I'm living like 30 minutes away from here. Yeah, so it's a very special place for me.
Great, so I wish you all the fun, and it's good to see you relax. Yeah, have great racing.
Thank you.
Does seem relaxed, doesn't he, Lu Wei? As I say, issues for that car in qualifying 2 for Bastien Boost. So hasn't got a great qualifying 2 result either. Lu Wei in 10th, Bob Wan starts in 11th position. We're going to go back to the grid, but we're now going to join Feline, who joins us on the GT World Challenge Asia grid with the 55.
雅琪非常高兴在第1排看到你，而且是来到了北京，是我们的一场街道赛。那么在头排发车有什么需要注意的？这场比赛你觉得这条赛道的需要哪些弯点会需要更注意一点？
头排发车，感觉只要注意自己能活着过1号弯就行，其他的我也管不着了。不过这条街道赛，而且是新铺的路面，很多地方的抓地力不太好，所以前面几圈会比较危险。 希望能顺顺利利的把我这一棒完成，交给一飞。
那我看到其实咱们是有2个编队圈的，那么这是不是对比赛也会有一定的帮助呢？
因为天气特别冷，轮胎温度起不来，所以这2个编队圈可能会对轮胎有一些帮助，但还是达不到公众的温度，所以在发车的时候，估计1号弯会非常的混乱。
那么也祝你今天有个好成绩。 So I just asked Yachi about starting from the front row and on his home soil, and he said he feels thrilled about it. But because of the temperature is very low, so even with 2 formation laps, and he feels it's very difficult to get a working temperature for the tires. But he said his goal is first to survive of the first turn. Thank you.
Yes, and he has already had an issue with the first turn, colliding with car 45 in pre-qualifying and breaking the wishbone on that car. It was obviously wheel-to-wheel contact, and the wishbone broke, so they lost a lot of time in their pre-qualifying session with damage. And so to be up on the front row in race 1 and be very at the sharp end with Ye Yifei in race 2, it's a great weekend for 55, who's going to be in really the sort of, not the cork in the bottle, but he's not fighting for any kind of championship, and he's got cars around him that are. And this is obviously the focus for so many of our drivers this weekend, is wrapping up their various championships. About half the field is involved in some kind of a fight, and the 55 is not. So they can go out and do their thing, but surviving turn 1 with cold tyres, even with 2 laps around this nearly 5-kilometre circuit, it is going to be tricky to get temperature. And the Porsches are better at getting temperature into their tyres. They because of the way that the car is balanced, it warms up better across all 4 wheels. Another local to Beijing is Frankie Chen.
Here with Frankie, you are local here, you are from Beijing, I heard. So how special is this race for you?
It is very special, but I must say, you know, this this temperature is not really helping us so far, but I wish that we have a clean race one and try to improve my positions.
All right. Let's hope for a clean and exciting race. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Our most experienced driver in the field, and fighting for the silver title, where they lead that, but also fifth in the overall championship. If they are on the podium, then they will keep their championship alive going into race 2. That is the weather. It's beautiful, beautiful blue skies, but it does mean no temperature retained overnight, and therefore it's just 10 degrees air temperature, just 13 degrees track temperature, no track running as yet, apart from the odd marshal bus and ambulance, and therefore nothing yet being generated. But as that sun beats down on this dark FIA spec tarmac, we will build temperature throughout this race. It doesn't help anybody for the first couple of laps. 2 formation laps as per the whole of the season in GT World Challenge Asia. Really, they could have done with 3. And it is going to give the Porsches an advantage in the first couple of laps. But then the likes of the Mercedes, the BMW, and the Nissan that don't have that 50-50 weight balance in the car, they will begin to come on. Don't forget that we also have championship challenge from car 99, which is Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim. He starts on row 9, way back. And it's going to be very, very hard for himself and Ben Green to keep their championship alive, even if they are only 15 points off Bob Wan and Liu Wei. They really do need to have a absolutely mega race, and it's going to be a challenge for them. Global manufacturer standings after Barcelona last weekend, the final round of the European Series. Mercedes leading over BMW with Porsche in third. You can imagine that Porsche and Ferrari are going to benefit from today's result with only 1 BMW in the field. There it is. And not many front-running Mercedes, certainly not in this particular race. Ran Chunfan and Maxi Mosen are likely to wrap up the Silver Ram title in this race. If they stay in the top 3, they win the title. And that is in the top 3 in Silver Am. They also must win the race to keep their overall championship challenge alive, much like this one, the 31 of Tao Che and Jaden Ajeda, who is pole for race 2 this afternoon. But they must win this race if they want to continue to fight for the title going into race 2. Yinglong Bao shares the Audi of Team Phantom with Joel Eriksson for this weekend, has had Marcus Winkelhock in that car all year. We welcome back Yinglong Bao, of course, because he's missed the last 2 Japanese races. And there is Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim. As I said, a really difficult qualifying for both of our princes. 18th and 17th on the grid. Despite all of those really headline performances over the last couple of rounds for the 99, just don't see it happening for them. They've got good qualifying. Ben Green qualifying, I think, 2nd or 3rd in race 2. But the Princes not feeling quite as comfortable with this street circuit. Remember, it's all in the head. It's just a layout that has walls if you make a mistake, rather than gravel traps and grass. And it's that is such a big challenge for our amateur drivers here. Our pro drivers, they just pretend that the walls are their friends. They skim up against them. We saw them, some pro drivers kissing tyre barriers yesterday. In the qualifying lap of Jaden Ajeda, he rubbed the wall to get himself 3.5 tenths up the field over everybody else. But the AM drivers don't want to do that. They want to give the walls some margin. And thankfully, with the width of the circuit here, that is a possibility. It's not super narrow like you find in Singapore, like you find in Macau, Monaco, of course. It is wide, and there are not many places where you will feel as though you need to kiss the wall, but the closer you get to the walls, the wider the circuit, the faster you can go through the turns. And it is therefore a mental challenge for our amateur drivers who will start this first race. The formation grid then begins, and here are your pole sitters in each class. Ben Porter in the AM category, must win to keep his championship alive in AM. Absolute Corsa's Lamborghini, super strong in qualifying one. Pro-Am on the front row, but it's pole for the silver category car of Win Here Harmony Racing. An all Ferrari Win Here Harmony Racing front row. And then on row 2, Nazim Azman, his first start in GT World Challenge Asia, alongside that Lamborghini that has the silver AM pole position. Anthony Liu starts in 5th position, also part of that championship fight, alongside Frankie Cheng in 6th. Watch out for Anthony Liu and Doran Boccolacci. The Nissan is 7th alongside the Uno Racing Team Audi, started by Rio. Yang Jiatong shares the 77 with Darrell O'Young on his penultimate weekend racing. Lu Wei alongside him. Bob Wan in 11th position. Lu Wei said he'll follow Bob Wan on these early part, and then the BMW alongside them. Pole for William Ben Porter in the 51. Then the 46. Tao Chi in 15th position. Kierong Lee alongside him. Then the 2 Corvettes on row 9, as I said. Brian Lee starts the GTO Racing Porsche in 19th, with Li Chao in 20th position. Wang Zhongwei in 21st, and then Satuan Santosho 22nd. Our AM Championship leader down on the back row of the grid, but they just need to finish if they want to win the AM title. It's very, very simple for them. A good look then, once again, at the circuit. They had a Ferrari win last time out in Okayama, the 10th victory for Ferrari in GT World Challenge Asia. BMW still winless in GT World Challenge Asia. Of course, we've been going 7 years now, so BMW would love to take a victory, as would Team KRC. Probably is not going to happen from 12th on the grid, although we are at a street circuit where anything can happen. This is the area of the circuit that loops around E-Town. Some very large international businesses already basing themselves in what is a very new part of Beijing, and no doubt will continue to develop over the next few years as we come racing here. Already announced on the calendar for 2026. There's the shopping centre, as Max Mosen referenced. Venue for myself and Amy's dinner the last couple of evenings. And then we go back out around the lake. This is the fastest sweeping turn 8 onto Tong Hui Main Road. And then the big stop chicane at turn 9, 10, 11. As I said, that is a no overtaking area. It's going to be interesting on turn 1 when everyone's bunched up. There's a white line that dictates where you are not allowed to overtake from. So you might see cars side by side running towards this corner, and then they will back out of the overtaking. Whoever's ahead of the white line has precedence. Turn 12, final turn on the lap. Difficult with a big bump as they go onto the bridge over the canal. Coming towards the final couple of moments before we get race 1 underway. Historically, on the streets of Beijing once more, GT3 cars getting ready to race. It's nice and clean, it's nice and slow. There's good space between our cars, and the green flag flies, and off we go down towards a wide turn 1. Ferrari leads, and Deng Yi leads into turn 1. The Lamborghini sneaks up the inside for 2nd position. Great start from them, and Anthony Liu in that bright yellow and dropping back of Nazim Asmam in his first start in GT World Challenge Asia. The first big stop then, coming into turn 3. Got to be really, really careful here. 3 wide in the middle of the pack, but everyone making their way through and being careful and being kind to each other. Very important. Oh, that was a very good couple of corners from the 55 of Yachi, who's back up to 2nd position ahead of the Lamborghini that must have run wide, and Anthony Liu sneaks up the inside up to 3rd. So a bad couple of corners then for the Lamborghini of Huang. Now he's on the big defense. Frankie Cheng trying to get past him. This is where we're a bit narrower around this part of the lap, about 15 meters the circuit, and then it will widen out once more back onto the main road of Tonghui. The first 3 are away, but there's still a lot of squabbling going on as Bob Wan moves himself up to 7th position, followed by Lu Wei. He said he was going to do that, didn't he? Their teammates at Origin. And now you come into this no overtaking zone, and the Lamborghini running a bit deep, so does Frankie Cheng in the Audi. All of them picking up a lot of leaves as well. The circuit lined with trees that are about to start losing their leaves to the winter, and a lot of those leaves getting into the radiators, and that's going to be a concern, especially as the teams would have already made sure that there's only a little bit of airflow going through the cars to keep the temperatures operating. So not a particularly strong first corner for Yaiqi in the 55, but he's now back up to 2nd position, and Andy Dung is streaking away at the front, trying to build a gap. Andy Dung from Shang Yaiqi, from Anthony Liu, Juan Ruhan in the Lamborghini, and then Kung Fu Cheng, and down the inside Anthony Liu goes for 2nd position. Nice move and nice respect between the 2 drivers. Liu needs a good result here. They're 20 points back from Bob Wan in the championship fight. They've not had a victory this year. It's the first year that Anthony Liu has entered and not won so far. Boccolacci, his teammate, desperate to take a victory in GT World Challenge Asia. And Anthony Liu is looking really, really strong in this early running. But that's what we said about the Porsche. We said it was going to be good in the first couple of laps, where it's warmer and it's got a balance of temperature across all 4 tyres. Whereas those that have rear engine, like the Audi for instance, doesn't have as much weight on the front axle, and therefore it takes longer for that front axle to work. And Frankie Cheng, you can see, struggling with understeer at the moment. It will come to him, he's got to be patient. But the Porsches will get better quicker. So this is now the time to make hay. And Bob Wan doing that, 6th position. Rio 7th, Lu Wei in 8th spot. So they've had good starts. It's Nazim Asman that really had the weakest start, down to 10th position from that 4th on the grid. That's sort of what you would expect from a rookie driver around a street circuit. It was a very, very strong qualifying for Nazim. He comes out of Carrera Cup Asia. But the GT3 car, a big step up from the Carrera Cup Porsche. Flat sits of the 992. Whining at top speed down into turn number 3. About 260 odd kilometers an hour into turn number 3. And now these medium speed 3rd gear corners. They were 2nd gear at the start of the weekend, but now with more grip. Bob moving around in the mirrors of Frankie Cheng. As I say, Frankie's nearly got 70 starts in GT World Challenge. He won't be distracted with the movement of Bob Wan in his mirrors. He has his own championship to think about. He's losing ground at the moment in the Silver Championship to Andy Dung, who leads. And Chen Kung Fu in 5th position, but it's 2nd in silver. And that will be crucial, and that's what Andy Dung will be really thinking about, because Dung Yi doesn't need to worry about his overall. Yes, it'd be lovely to win the overall race here, but it's about the Silver Championship. A lap around the circuit then with Bob Yuan. Not making up massive amounts of ground over these big 2 bumps into the braking zone into turn 1. There is Lu Wei, plenty of leaves in his radiator grille. They haven't collected at the bottom of the grille because that's already taped up. A lot of duct tape covering the radiators, covering the brake ducts to get temperature into all of those elements in what is just 10 degrees air temperature. Imagine we were in Buriram and Mandalika on 40 degrees air temperature, 50 degrees track temperature, and these same cars, these same tyres having to do the same work in just 10 degrees. Thankfully, FIA grade, newly laid, dark tarmac, offering good grip, or as much grip as it can do in 14 degrees. And the whole circuit being re-tarmacked just a couple of weeks ago. Obviously the tarmac already laid around the area. Because this area of E-Town has existed for a couple of years, and the tarmac and the road system the first thing to go down, but when you want to run a any kind of FIA grade race, you need to run the FIA spec tarmac, and even the drain hole covers need to be FIA spec. Huge amounts of work from the local organisers to get this circuit up to international standard, and how wonderful does it look. Of course, the 25 Chinese drivers that we have on the grid, ecstatic about the facilities that we have here. And they should well be proud, because it really is a spectacular venue, and it is a challenge for these drivers. The challenge is coming from the likes of the bumps here into turn 1, 2 big bumps as you cross over the canal underneath you. There's a little bit of a bump starting to develop into turn number 3 under the braking zone there as you turn and brake at the same time. We've got a car off, and that's Tao Chi in the number 31. That's one of our championship challengers. Lightly touched the barrier, one would suggest, at turn number 1. Now he just needs to hook the reverse and get out of there, but that really is disappointing for himself and Jaden Ajada. That car is on pole for this afternoon's race, but it looks as though certainly he's going to tumble down to the back of the field. Can he get that moving? It is running, isn't it? Because there's a bit of smoke coming off the back of it. Can he get it running, or will we need to scramble the safety car to help that car out of the barrier? Andy Dung will not want the safety car because he's built a nice advantage. But we are going to have to go safety car, I'm afraid. It will be a short one, because they'll be able to quickly remove that car, but one wonders whether there's a little bit of bent steering on the front right corner, and that 2.6 second advantage that Andy Dung had over Anthony Liu has now been reduced. Now drivers will need to work hard under this safety car lap to get those cars in and keep them in the window. They'll have a display inside the cockpit showing the pressure of each 4 corners of the tyres. The team and the engineers will tell them what they need to keep those tyres, what window they need to keep them in. And that's what they will then try and do. We'll let the field stream through, and the field is still relatively bunched up. It's quite impressive actually to see. That should quickly allow our Marshall team to just run out there and get the car out of that barrier. And then we'll be able to go back to racing. Just a reminder that we will have a pit stop in about 10 minutes' time. The window opens. Here's the start then. And a cautious start, as we expected, from Zhang Yang Qi. in the 55, a little bit wide, and an aggressive start from Yuan down the inside in the Lamborghini, up into second position, but somewhere further around the lap, the Lamborghini made a mistake and lost a couple of positions. It was strong from the Porsche of Anthony Liu. He moved himself up into third position. And have a look in the middle of the pack for Bob Wan into the braking zone. So one position gain around the outside of the Craft Bamboo Mercedes before turn one. Into turn one, down the inside of Lu Wei, the number 4 to his inside. Does he get it done? No, he doesn't quite get it done because Nissan's a bit slow on the apex there. So then, yeah, he must have been really good through turns 4, 5 and 6. Here is the Nissan, just ahead of what we've just seen. Anthony Liu ahead of us. Liu just gets a better drive off the corner. The Nissan really struggling there. That is classic cold tyre. Understeer mid-corner and then just didn't get the power down. So the Porsche's able to drive past. And then in the middle of the lap was where the ground was made up by Bob Wan. So Bob sits 6th, Lu Wei 6th, 8th. And they just need to get on that tow hook. There's an arrow pointing at it. And then they can pull that car out of the tyre barrier. It doesn't look as though it would have been a particularly fast bury into that barrier. Too much damage to the front right corner. So, in terms of our championships, not quite sure yet. Deng Yi will keep the silver championship very much alive with this result if it stays as is, but we're still very, very early on in the race. Bob Wan in 6th position. We'll give him 127 points. But Anthony Liu in 2nd position will move up to within 10 points of him, so the championship would not be done. Of course, there is also the 4 to consider. The 4 is behind Bob Wan, but not significantly behind for the championship to die. And what about the progress of the 99? Prince Jeffrey down in 17th position. Looking at GPS, it does suggest that the 31 is still in that barrier, unfortunately. So another safety car lap is needed. There's the Sphere, a little smaller version of the Las Vegas Sphere. It does, I thought it was an installation by AMG down there. There's a big AMG pop-up stand, but it does look as though that might actually be permanent. We had a quick look last night at the concrete around it, and it does look like it's there to stay. So that's will be pretty cool. Here's the Silver Am leader, Ron Huang. Will be handing over to Akish Nandi, who was very handy in the qualifying 2 yesterday. So that Lamborghini on course for a good weekend. Absolute Corsa, not having to worry about a second Lamborghini we had in the early part of the year, not having to worry also about a Ferrari that they ran in the early part of the year. So they are able to focus on the Porsches that they have, and that's Silver Am Lamborghini. It's paying off for them right now. So Prince Jeffrey 17th, Prince Abubakar 19th. Tao Che out of the race. We've got the 3 Am drivers at the tail of the field, as you would expect. There's our Am leader, Ben Porter. Ben Porter is still in championship contention. His teammate, Andrew McPherson, is not, because he missed the first 2 races of the year. But it's going to be pretty tough for them to keep the championship alive, because the 75 just needs to finish to win the Am title, regardless of what Ben and Santosho managed to do. So the Mercedes is out of the barrier. The barrier looks fine, so we don't have to worry about repairing it. But the question is whether the Mercedes is going again, or what they're doing about recovering it, because it's sort of still sitting there. The cars complete another lap. We're rolling closer and closer towards pit window, and of course, this being an AM starting race, we're going to get the cars in pretty quickly to get their pro drivers in. The pro drivers will make even more of a difference in the first race of the weekend. Especially now that the field is bunched up, it really does nullify the effect of the AMs. Now the 31 is moving, I believe, according to my tracker. He's over down at E-Town, so that means that we will be able to get the lights out on the safety car and potentially go racing at the end of this lap. We'll have confirmation from race control in just a second, but there is the Mercedes. Just trying to see why it needed to be pulled out the barrier. He obviously couldn't find reverse, because it does look as though it's almost undamaged, isn't it? There's barely a scratch on the front right corner, so that must have just been that Tao Che struggled to find reverse on the car, and that is why he needed assistance to get out of the tyre stack. Lights are still shining on our safety car, but we are only at the middle part of the lap. There will be a subscribed place where safety car lights need to go off. But all of the teams will have seen the data that we can see here in the commentary box with regards to where the 31 is. They'll see that there's no work being done to the tyre stack, and therefore they will be assuming, like I am, to prepare your cars to get back into battle, get the temperature up, make sure that we are in a working window, because we think that we're going racing again. Race control, I have to say, race control have not confirmed it. Yes, safety car lights are out, so safety car is coming in. The 31 I can hear in my commentary box coming past me. But safety car is coming in this lap, and we are going to go back to racing. Andy Dung will lead them over the line. Anthony Liu in his Porsche will be aggressive, no doubt. He'll have the temperature up. Then Zhang Yaiqi in the second of the Ferraris. Juan Rohan in the Lamborghini. Frankie Cheng, 5th position in his Audi. Then championship leader Bob Wan in 6th position. Rio 7th, Lu Wei 8th. Hiddebon in 9th. And Nazim Azman in 10th position. Green flag and racing once more here in Beijing. Just a couple of laps before we open the pit window, and we'll get our AM drivers out and put our pros in. And who's looking? Oh! Big crash between our leading two into turn 1. Anthony Liu has been caught out by Andy Dung there into turn 1. And that is going to bring the safety car back out again, but not at the moment. They're still racing at the moment. And that's an absolute disaster. That's a disaster for Andy Dung, yes, because it means that the championship in silver is over for them, but it's also a disaster for Anthony Liu because his championship challenge is now out of the window as well. Liu had so much more confidence going into turn 1. Perhaps too much, perhaps he was locked up. But Andy Dung was just being careful. And big incident, big closing speed between the two of them. We'll have to have another look at that to see exactly what happened there, because, yeah, it wasn't a small tap, but the damage that we've seen on the Ferrari and on the Porsche, it was not a small tap at all. Our top two eliminated here in race 1 in Beijing. Almost certainly hands the silver title to car 45, who's now at the 3rd position, and 3rd position would keep their championship alive overall. Door is open on Anthony Liu's car, who's made it all the way into the barrier. Now let's have a look again Anthony Liu is way, way, way back here. He's come over the bump. Yeah, okay, he's locked up. So over that first bump, he's locked the axle. And unfortunately, Andy Dung was in the way. We saw a very similar incident in GT Cup qualifying, the GT4 race, but just look at that. As soon as he's locked up, there's absolutely no retardation whatsoever. And off goes the 96 with big damage, and the 37 with big damage. Huge disappointment down at Win Here Harmony. It really looked as though they could have taken another victory. It really looked like they were going to be fighting for the title, and I wonder also whether that barrier there has moved. As we saw in GT Cup qualifying, there was an incident in that corner. But that 96 car does look a little bit of a mess. A lot of the teams will have spare cars. They won't be in the garages on the pit straight. There is a second area where the containers have been positioned. I did see, for instance, the 19 Lamborghini that we've had racing with us the last couple of events. Saw that car parked up. Now, presumably, I haven't seen race control announcing it, but presumably, I know the pit window is open. Okay, so we may well see lots of people coming into the pits here. Usually, pit window gets shut during safety car procedures, but it has been announced as open, and so we're going to see everybody come into the pits here and make their pit stops. Now, Silvers have an extra 7 seconds in pit lane. So our silver cars of Frankie Chang, of Uno Racing, Absolute Racing, they're going to drop right to the tail of the field. And sorry, it's only 5 seconds for the Silvers, but 5 seconds under safety car procedure is a lot. Here's that replay again. Anthony Liu way, way back, just locking the axle. And there's absolutely nothing that Andy Dung could do. And Dung's gone heavy into the tyre stack there. But unfortunately, that when I was just saying how good the Porsches were at getting everything up to temperature, Anthony Liu being caught out by that bridge, that bump into the braking zone. And actually, that's Lu Wei as well, I think, running very, very deep into turn one on the number 4, on board with the 87. There's that bump, and then there's a second one, and there is a view from the crash to our right-hand side. So Bob Wan was able to get through that corner, but a couple of cars behind, car 4, from that wide shot, he ended up running quite wide. Now, I don't know whether Andy Dung is still in the car there. He's quite parked up against the barrier, though. And now, watch out, everybody's coming into the pits here. There's no point in staying out. If you stay out, then you are going to lose massively. So everyone has to pit. Although Rio in the Uno Racing car has not come in, and neither has Juan Rohan. This is going to be chaos, by the way, because the pit lane is narrow. There's actually quite a lot of space between cars. But if you do not come into the pits, you're going to be at the back of the field. And Rio has done just that. So I'm afraid that's a big error from Uno Racing. A reminder that 5 seconds extra for the Silvers. That's what I was saying a little bit earlier. Car 4 has plus 15, so Lu Wei is going to drop to the tail of the field as well. Car 66, which is Prince Abubakar, they're going to drop to the tail of the field with their success penalty from the last round, as is car 911, but they're already at the back. So, in theory, everyone's pit stops should be pretty much exactly the same time. And therefore, car 55 should come out at the head of the field. But Bob Wan's going to inherit a position here because Frankie Cheng is going to be hugely hurt by pit stops happening under safety car procedure. We've got 2 cars behind the safety car. who have chosen not to pit, car 16 and car 31. But watch out for anybody who's getting an early release, because an early release would make a massive difference in terms of your track position, but you do not want to be in the pits too short because you will get a penalty. And race control will be monitoring that. It's pretty much a slam dunk. Now look, cars streaming past here, really hard to get Bob Yuan out into the queue of cars. Origin have done well there. But the further down pit lane you are, and Origin are in pit box 1, 2, and 3, the more it hurts. Frankie Cheng has come out, or James Yu Kwai has come out at the head of the field, which I would say is impossible, because that pit stop needs to have been 5 seconds longer than everybody else. And even if you make a mistake and are slightly longer, there's no way you're going to be 5 seconds longer. So I think there might be an error there for the Audi Sport Team Phantom car, because the maths suggest that 45 should be dropping down the field. You can see that the Absolute Racing 321 has. Craft Bamboo 77 has dropped down the field. The car 4, you can see on the graphic, dropping like a stone from its success penalty, down in 16th spot, and that's going to really hurt their championship challenge. Because look, their teammates, Liu Ye, car up in 6th position, car 87. Now, these two yet to make their pit stop. Choosing to come in now. Now, of course, I suppose the next question is are the queue of cars allowed to catch up to the safety car, or do they need to run at a subscribed speed? I think they are able to run to catch up, although Frankie Cheng leading the field, nobody obviously allowed to overtake, so sort of down to what Frankie is doing. So whilst we're under safety car, let's go down to Feline, who has picked up our race leader just out of the car.
雅琪，刚才也是一个非常大的事故。那么首先告诉我一下你刚刚的发车怎么样？对自己的发车满意吗？然后看到了那个事故，其实让你反而上升了第1位，但是又是你的队友，你当时的心情怎么样？
我对自己的发车并不满意，因为在发车阶段，我虽然守住了自己位置，但最后还是被刘旭给过了。不过在后面这个事故的时候，我正好在后面，我是完全看到刘旭应该是因为安全车的关系，轮胎冷了，一下子那时候没刹车。但是那时候第一想的是希望人没事。
So I just asked Yachi about the situation. He said he wasn't satisfied with his start, and he got overtook by Anthony Liu. But when he saw the accident, it seems like after the safety car, Anthony Liu didn't really warm up the tire, and so he lost his brake, and he hit on his teammate and Deng Yi. But the first thing he was worried about is the safe of all the drivers. Thank you.
好了。
Well, they find themselves, I think, at the head of the field. So even if there was a slightly cautious start, that was probably a good thing, because he's now handed over the 55 car to Ye Yifei. Ye Yifei, the winner of Le Mans in hypercar overall this year, one of the most famous, most successful Chinese drivers there is. Works Ferrari driver, will be taking over and racing this Ferrari in Macau in a month's time. And after a horrible debut in Okayama, I would not bet against Yefei winning this race 1. Up to second position, Joel Eriksson in the 46 Audi. Rakesh Nandi takes over the Lamborghini, which I think would be in third. This is assuming the 45 has made a mistake in the pit lane. Bob Yuan will therefore be, or Liu Yi, sorry, will therefore be in 4th position. And you know what? It could mean that he wins the championship from there, because both of his championship challenges are nowhere. All of his championship challenges are nowhere. There's going to be a penalty for the 45. 37 is out. 99 is up to 9th position. Okay, so if Ben Green has a good second stint here, could just about upset the party. But Lu Wei, who's handed over to Bastien Boos, Bastien is going to have to drive the stint of his life from down in 14th position. So now into the pits. Oh, there was a bit of damage. Okay, I was unfair on the on Tao Che earlier on. He was obviously slightly welded to the barrier there. Car 86 coming into the pits. Second pit stop? Yeah, it is for Anders Forsbacke. So it's curious as to why they need to come in for a second time. And once again, tyre stacks need to be rebuilt down there at turn number 1. Had practice yesterday though, so a lot more efficient today. Ben Green, 9th spot. So if he really is the most likely, well, is he the only one who's taking any points? Right, pit stop analysis. So 1 minute 45 for 45. And then, so Winnie Harmony, 55 was 4 seconds longer, but 46 was 3 seconds shorter. Now, total pit stop time needs to be 1 minute and 15 seconds. Sorry, 1 minute and 10 seconds. So 1 minute and, 110 seconds is 1:40. So you're completely correct. They have served their 5 seconds. It's just that everybody else was nowhere near as efficient as Team Phantom. I take it all back. Well done to Team Phantom, because they are being absolutely bang on with their pit stop. The 46 has also, with a 1 minute 42 there, been okay. And Winnie Harmony Racing in the 55 have given away 9 seconds that they didn't need to give away. That is basically what's happened. Absolute Corsa and the 29 Lamborghini were 10 seconds slower, so that graphic was absolutely wonderful. No issues. James Yuan leads this motor race, and that changes everything again.
Stop penalty, but what happened? Why are you P1 right now?
To be honest, this caught by surprise also for us. I think that most of the cars are pitting on the safety car, and we were in front positions. I think that's the car behind that had to queue to box, and plus that I think that we were very fortunate that to actually had a gap to exit of the pit box. I think many of the cars had to wait because all the cars are coming in, so there was no space for them to leave the pit box. We were really lucky for that.
Okay, so you didn't change the tires?
No, we did not change the tires because we already struggle a lot with the tire temperature, and we keep the tires.
Okay. And as it stands, you are champions as it stands right now.
Yes, and but I know that the T1 incident wasn't really ideal. I wish all the drivers involved in the crashes are okay, and yes, we still have 20 minutes to go. Let's see.
Let's hope for James coming back safely, and all the best luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just to clarify then, 45 is champions in silver, because their nearest challenger obviously retiring out of the race. But they will also keep the championship alive in the overall. if they keep, as it stands here, they needed to be on the podium to keep the championship alive, and they will be on the podium. So the 45 taking the victory. It will, in theory, Bob Wan doesn't need any points to keep the championship alive. So as it stands then, champions of the silver category, car 45, and I think it's kind of almost fait accompli because no points for 96. Who is second in silver? The 77 of Darrell Young is second in silver, but would lose too many points to Frankie Cheng and James Yu Kwai, because they're already 33 back. And of course, we did see the 16 making that error with missing a pit stop, so it sits right at the tail of the field. And I think the 86 has retired, I'm afraid. So I wondered why Anders Forsback was bringing his Porsche in. Well, that looks like it's a retirement because he's still in pit lane. Jaden Ajeda from the very tail of the field in 22nd position. Won't be much point in him fighting for anything because they are 3 laps back, so might as well just sit there and gather information. But going back to the tyre situation, very interesting from Frankie Cheng, kind of knowing, I suppose, that the tyres haven't really done very much work under safety car conditions and still won't be doing very much work under safety car conditions. The wisdom there is there's temperature in them. We might as well keep them on because anybody who's got to go out there on new tyres has got to get the temperature up. Whereas they have built temperature, they've scrubbed off the shine, and James Yu Kwai therefore should have some confidence underneath him. It is home city. Frankie Cheng staring at a possibility of winning here in Beijing. He's already spoken to us over the weekend at how special it is to be racing in his home city, how it's great to have all his friends and family being able to support him. They've already had a victory this year, himself and James Yu Kwai. That was back in Buriram in race 1. They were on the podium in race 2 in Malaysia. Just a reminder there is Bastien Bus down in 14th position, had 15 extra seconds to serve in the pit lane because of his success last time out. So that is why he dropped down to 14th, and actually, to be honest, I don't think that is that bad because of all the other problems that people were having. It could have been a lot worse for Bus and Lu Wei. Alexander Sims had 10 seconds and Patrick Pilet had 5. It does sound as though we are going back to racing. Pit stop times are under investigation, although the data that we was just showing you sound as though at least the top couple of cars were good. Going to give us about 15 minutes of pro driver action. Let's see James Yu Kwai versus Ye Yifei at the head of the field, with Joel Eriksson in 3rd, his first time in an Audi in GT3 competition. Akash Nandi 4th, Leo Yi, our championship leader, in 5th position. Adli Fong, that's a good position for the 13 in 6th. Then Yukan Amaru and Max Usen in 8th. Ben Green in 9th. Needs to have a real charge in the 99 Corvette. And then the last points scorer, Daniel Liu, in 10th position with Darrell Young just behind him. James Yu Kwai, dead slow. Out of the chicane, towards the final turn. Have they done enough? Have they got the confidence in the tyres? Have they got the tyre temperature and pressure up? James has got plenty of space behind him. It's a great start over Ye Yifei. Well, he's got himself nearly a second advantage as we go back to green flag racing here in Beijing with 15 minutes remaining. Already on the charge, Ben Green tucked up underneath the rear wing of the BMW, coming in towards turn one. The first three are clear and away. Akish Nandi in fourth position. And actually, Joel Eriksson looks fast here in his Audi. Starting to get closer and closer to Ye Yifei in his Ferrari for second position. Could it be an Audi 1-2? That would be remarkable. Not quite close enough to make a move. Ben Green did get Max Mosen, so he's already moved up one position, up to 8th position in his Corvette. Watch the charge. It's important for his Prince's Championship. Also, Bastien Bus needs massive movement down in 13th. He's got to score decent points to keep Lu Wei's championship alive. So we've got, yes, a battle at the front. But for the championship, the 55 and the 46 are nowhere. Neither is the 29, really. Then Liu Yi in 5th position. Just looking there, doesn't have much of a challenge behind him. Ben Green looks mighty though, doesn't he? Already onto the tail of the Nissan, already challenging Yu Kanemaru. He's coming towards that chicane though, so he's not allowed to overtake. So you saw him actually on the brakes halfway down the straight because he knew he couldn't get past this big brute. Oh, what's that? Is that a car off on the right-hand side there? Yes, it is, and it's the Ford. No, it's not the 45. I thought we saw a car on the right-hand side, and the tracking suggesting it was a 45, but the 45 is coming into the pits. Stop-go penalty for car 13. And stop-go penalty for car number 45 for a short pit stop. Car 46 has got a penalty as well. And that is going to leave the 55 well out in the lead. It is all go, it's all drama here. And that flips everything on its head again, and Ben Green is up to 3rd position. Unbelievable. Liu Yi's in the pits. Hang on, what is going on? Why is Liu Yi in the pits? Here's the 45. He's got to serve a 10-second stop-go penalty. 46 has got an 8-second. 55 has got a 1-second. 13 has got a 9-second, and now 87's penalty comes through as a 1-second penalty. Sorry, timing screen just a little bit slower than the drivers, obviously. 99 has got a penalty. So Ben Green has got to bring his car in at the end of this lap. So the first 3 have got to come into the pits to serve penalties. That's going to put Yu Kanemaru into the lead of the race. Nico Menzel up to 2nd, but hang on, we're still working through pit stop times here. So perhaps I'll just keep quiet for a moment and wait for all the penalties to be established. I couldn't believe that that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 penalties. All for short pit stops, but so my gut feeling initially was correct, but the data suggested it was okay. So these 2 need to come into pits as well. The 55 and the 46. And Ben Green needs to come into the pits also. 4-second stop go for Ben Green. It is 8 seconds for 46 Joel Eriksson and 1 second for the 55 of Ye Yifei. So there's your new leader, the Nissan 500. 2nd, Nico Menzel. 3rd, Daniel Lu. And Max Mosen in the BMW is in 4th position. He's behind his silver class rival, so Silver Am will not be sorted yet. Oh, and that's a stall for Joel Eriksson in the 46. So that's going to be a longer stop go than he needs. And he comes out behind Ben Green. But Ye Yifei will be ahead of them both because he had a shorter penalty. Now, I wonder if all those penalties are now sorted. I'm hoping that's everybody. And with 10 minutes to go, we've got a motor race that we can call. But Bastien Bus is up to 5th position in the number 4. Out of the points, Liu Yi. Out of the points, James Yu Kwai. No points for Anthony Liu in the 37 because he's crashed. So this is massive advantage then to the number 4 of Bastien Bus, who a moment ago I said was out of the points, hasn't done any overtaking really, and now is massively in the points. Maxi Mosen, if he wants to win the championship overall, he still must win the race. And so since 4th at the moment, that wouldn't be enough. But the Nissan is leading, the only Japanese entry. There is the 500 then. Under pressure from Nico Menzel in the number 10. GTO Racing have never been this strong, but Nico Menzel has absolutely loved this Beijing circuit since the start of the weekend, and is putting Yu Kanemaru under pressure. Nissan haven't had a win since Suzuka 2024. Little bit of a gap then to Daniel Lu. Great running position for him. And then look at Bastien Bus there on the tail of the BMW 89. Lu Wei, of course, his teammate, standing in the pits, and suddenly from nowhere they are in a really strong championship position. In for 5th position, they get themselves 10 points. And they are 14 back from 87, so that will put them within 4 points of Liu Yi going into this afternoon's race. There is the 55, out of the points, having led the race. There is the 87, out of the points. Ben Green also with that massive charge, now out of the points. We've got amateur drivers. The 4 amateur entries are ahead, of course, of these lot, because they haven't had penalties given to them. Akish Nandi, by the way, the Lamborghini that was so strong, that has also pitted. So I don't know what's happened to for that car. It didn't have a penalty, but the 29 is retired. On board with Liu Yi. He had a stop-go, let's not forget. So 6 cars had stop-goes, basically from 14th down to 18th. But I don't know what happened to Akish Nandi. That Lamborghini's so strong in the hands of Ron Yuan, and was up in the top positions, but has gone, it says pit alongside him, so he's brought the car into the pits and retired it. Much like Anders Forbach is also retired out of the race. The battle for the lead then, 500 versus 10. Best result for Nico Menzel and for Brian Lee for that number 10 car. 7th position in Fuji in race 2, and race 2 in Fuji was that mad race where half the field fell off the track on the last lap. So being in 2nd spot is a mammoth result for GTO. But as I was mentioning earlier, a lot of the Japanese entries in GT World Challenge choosing not to come here to Beijing, and the only team that did is Gojigen with their Nissan, and they're being rewarded for it at the moment, not only leading, but also keeping the Silver AM Championship alive. Or would they? Because the BMW would be in 2nd position. I guess they would, just. That would be 21 points. So still very much to the advantage of Maxi Mosen. With only 5 cars, it might be... No, I think that would still mean that mathematically Maxi Mosen would still win Silver AM, because there wouldn't be enough, even if he retired out of race 2, as long as he started race 2, if he retired, he would still pick up enough points to win the championship. So he has to basically, 86 in this position, would have to win, would have to start race 2. That's what he'd have to do. But 500 would keep the championship alive at the end of this one. Clean track ahead for Yu Kanemaru. 6 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Patrick Pilet has snuck up the inside of Alexander Sims. 6th position. Sims in 7th, flashing his lights. They're both behind the BMW of Maxi Mosen. But Pilet was very, very strong in practice in the Porsche. That was kind of in the early stages of practice where the Porsches were, in general, stronger than the rest of the field. Now we've got cars up to temperature. And Sims on the flashers. Bastien Bus trying the same thing on Daniel Lu. Bus up to 4th position, so Bus has passed Usain. And that means that the gap between the two Origine Porsches at the head of the field closing up even more. Side by side further back, who's that racing each other? I think that was Alexander Sims trying to get past Patrick Pilet. Yes, he is. And Sims will be on the inside into the braking zone at turn number 3. Giving lots of respect and room to Patrick Pilet. There's a lot of bumps offline there. The Corvette squirms around under braking, but Sims gets it done and moves up to 6th. In terms of the championship, Prince Abubakar already out of it, but clearly Alexander Sims, the star of the show for those guys. Taking a victory in the early part of the year alongside Prince Jeffrey, then having to miss a few rounds because of other commitments. So when he came back to partner Prince Abubakar and instantly improved his results. And a second last time out in Okayama. Been Abubakar's car that has really been the unlucky one all year long. Look how strong Bastien Bus looks last time out, the victor in Okayama. Of course, the top 3 will be given success penalty going into the second race of the day. So Bus moves up onto the podium here. Yes, he gets more points, but also he'll get 5 seconds in the pits to serve, and for sure the other championship rivals will not have to worry about that. Will they get Anthony Liu's 37 car rebuilt for this afternoon's race? My gut is no. My gut is that those 2 cars that crashed at turn 1 are out for the weekend. It's going to be a big ask. Nissan not looking particularly strong here, and suddenly I'm getting the feeling of Mandalika all over again, where the Nissan led until basically the last corner. Remember in Mandalika, the 500 of Yuan leading the whole of that second stint. And then an incident in the penultimate corner spun him around, and it was heartbreak. Now we cross our fingers once more. There's not many of those Nissan GTRs left in GT3 racing. And Nissan Japan flying the flag, and literally flying the flag, because every time you go to a race weekend, they have flags and they're handing them out to anybody who's willing to wave them. A real effort from Hirobon and Yu Karamaru, and it just fills you with that little bit of underdog pride that maybe there's another win in that car. And we're only now 2 minutes away, but there's huge hassle from Nico Menzel, from Daniel Lu, from Bastien Bus. GTO running Menzel's car, Absolute running Daniel Lu's car. By far their best result it will be. They were stronger last time out in Okayama than they've been before, and another step up thanks to bringing in a silver driver alongside them. It'll be a silver win, first time of asking for Daniel Lu. Bastien Bus is right there as well. There is our championship leader, 87. still leading the championship, even though they won't score any points here. But it will be by a tiny margin going into the final weekend race of the weekend. How does this happen? Every year in GT World Challenge Asia, you think you're coming to a weekend where there's an overwhelming favourite. It was Lu Wei last year who had a big advantage going into race one. And then everything gets turned on his head. And there's been a change. Daniel Lu is dropping like a stone. The 3-2-1, I think, is off the circuit. Yes, he is. There he is. Down at turn number 3. And that's a disaster for Daniel Lu. I thought he was going to take a podium here. 25 seconds remaining, so one more lap to go. And that's promoted Maxi Mosen back onto the podium. Sims has got ahead of Bastien Bus. So Bus, it must have been a challenge from Bus, because Bus has dropped down to 5th position. Pilet's dropped down to 6th position. And it's been to the advantage of Sims, who's got up ahead, and Usen. Frankie Cheng will still win the silver title because the 96 is in the wall. Although actually, I don't think that's now potentially correct, because with that change with Daniel Lu in the wall, the 77 will be the winner. And there's damage to the 3-2-1. Oh, there's bits of something hot coming off the car. Nico Menzel looks down the inside of the Nissan. No space there. This is the final lap. This is the final opportunity. Don't have to worry about what's going on behind, because there's a gap now. So Menzel doesn't have to worry about a false move. He just can make a move. But is there any opportunities for a move? The fingers and the toes are crossed down at Gojigen. Certainly turn 8 is not an opportunity to overtake. This chicane you cannot overtake, but maybe into the final turn. Let's see. It's been over a year since the Nissan took victory in GT World Challenge Asia. They keep the championship challenge alive in silver, in Silveram, and there is no challenge from Nico Menzel through the final turn. So here comes Yuan Kanemaru, who is going to win again in the Nissan GTR. It's Team Gojigen who take the full points in a manic and chaotic race one here in Beijing. Nico Menzel for GTO in 2nd position. And I think the BMW of Maxi Mosen will be in 3rd. There is Hirobon. And the happiness floods out of the team. Sims will be 4th. Patrick Pilet, 5th position. Boost down to 6th in the end. So it was a big error from Bastien Bus with the incident with Daniel Lu. And it's cost them a few points, but they will keep that championship overall alive. But none of our championship top outside of Lu Wei. No points for the 87, who comes over the line now. No points for the 99. And Ben Green, very strong, so watch out for the 99 in the 2nd race. And there will be no points, of course, for the 37 either. Yeah, and there are the tears. It was very, very likely to happen. It's been a long time coming. Hirobon actually wasn't driving when they were attempting to take victory in Mandalika. He was there. And there is the release of emotion from Hirobon. September 2024 was their last victory. And they've only ever taken 2. The Nissan also winning back in 2018. Not sure that was in the hands of Hirobon and Yuan Kanemaru either. There was different drivers back in 2018, so that is their 2nd victory And it was pretty chaotic to say the least, but confusion over perhaps the pit stop times. Certainly 6 cars getting it wrong. Bang on 10 seconds too short for the 45 car. You can forgive a 1 second short, which was the 87 and the 55, but 10 seconds suggests more of a fundamental misunderstanding. And to be fair to me, I think I was of the same opinion as well. So 77 took victory in the silver category, and that would given him 173 points, and the 45 taking points for third would give him 196. So yeah, 23 points the difference. Frankie Cheng is not the title winner in silver because of Daniel Lu's retirement. Had Daniel Lu taken victory in silver, that would have changed, and that would have meant that Frankie Chen would have taken victory. But with that last, well, not last lap, but nearly last lap retirement from Daniel Lu, that flips everything again and meant that Frankie Chen isn't quite champion. And unfortunately, they do drop out of contention in the overall. An outpouring of emotion is expected in a few seconds' time. And there it is. Hirobon and Yuka Amaru's second victory. They try so hard, they throw so much into it. Whether it be Nissan, whether it be Team Gojigen. Stefan Rattel in the back of shot there, watching on with a big smile on his face. The Japanese, this course historically very much centered around Japanese motorsport culture. And when we had the COVID year, it was pretty much a Japanese national championship.
Nice.
And now with more and more other Asian nationalities getting involved and 25 Chinese drivers on the entry list today, changes things all over again. Now, the incident involving car 4, Bastien Bus and Daniel Lu 321, is under investigation down at turn 3. So that can change things all over again. There's Nico Menzel, who was with us for the opening year of GT World Challenge Asia back in 2017, has returned to the championship this year and has got himself a podium. Brian Lee, he's looking for, the Chinese Taipei driver. Now, they think they're Silver Am champions in the 89. Nissan first. Oh, yes, because they came second, so regardless, the Nissan, even though it's taken victory, because the BMW was second, they did enough.
I'll wait.
Big smile on Max Mosen's face. But to be fair, I thought we were going to see them as champion a few rounds ago. They were so dominant in the early part of the year, but the Nissan came on strong in the second half of the year, and they have done it again. Right, let's go down to Amy, who has our winner.
Here with the winners of the very first Beijing Street Circuit race, 500. The only 2 drivers from Japan. Congratulations. You had so much pressure from behind. How was your stint and how do you feel?
First of all, yeah, we have a bit of luck to win this race, but definitely we had a better pace than qualifying because we had a problem with the tire pressure and everything, but in the end we put everything together to win this race, and I'm really happy with the team and I'm really happy with the teammate. And thank you for everyone in Beijing, and I love this track. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing win, congratulations. ヒロボン選手、初のベイジンストリートサーキットでの優勝です。おめでとうございます。歴史に名を刻みました。
ありがとうございます。もう最高です。はい。
涙も先ほど浮かべてましたけど、今どんなお気持ちですか？
いや、もうこれ以上ないです。はい。
まあレース2ね、すぐ始まると思うんですけれども、ぜひまたいい結果目指して頑張ってください。
はい、頑張ります。ありがとうございます。
So he's saying he's really happy. He had some happy tears earlier, but really relieved that this outcome is here like this. And yeah, he's very much looking forward to race 2 as well. Back to you.
Here are the unofficial results then from a chaotic race 1 here in Beijing. And the celebrations inside the Nissan. Absolutely. When they're spoken to, they're so mild, but the emotions are so clear. Look at that. The tears, the passion down there in Gojigen. And absolutely inside the car as well with Yu Kanemaru. They cannot quite believe it. You would not necessarily bet on a Nissan victory around the street circuit like this. Safety cars, of course, slightly helped them, as did the penalties, but ultimately they still had to hold on. Winning in Am, Liam Talbot with a great last stint to get Setuan Santosho onto the top step of the podium in Am. Pro-Am for GTO. But the win for Hirobon and Yu Kanemaru by 0.2 of a second over Nico Menzel in the end. Team KRC will be on the podium in 3rd position overall, as well as 2nd in silver. And then what about Alexander Sims up to 4th? That car started on row 9 of the grid. Patrick Pile in 5th position. Wei Lu 6th, but question mark over whether there'll be a penalty for the number 4 and the rest of the top 10. Gary 75 will be AM champions despite the fact they finished only 3rd position today. And all of our championship rivals really not scoring points. Ben Green in 12th, Leo Yi 14th. The 45 down in 16th position. And then, of course, that big shunt for Deng Yi and Anthony Liu retiring out of the race. Also retirements for Absolute Corsa and Origine's 86 car. Absolutely hoping that the sun stays out for the rest of the day to keep that temperature in the tarmac. It's up to 19 degrees, which is pretty much the highest we've seen all weekend. And no doubt our GT4 drivers will be excited by that. The GT4 GT Cup, SRO GT Cup, coming up next on track. And we'll have live coverage of that on GT World. And the GT4 car relies even more heavily on their tyres. Here are the highlights then from race 1 here in Beijing. The streets of Beijing hosting racing once again for the first time in over 10 years. And a good start from the Lamborghini of Ron Huang down the inside of Yaichi. And Anthony Liu also making a good start in his Porsche, up to 3rd position by the time they got down to turn number 3. And it was 2nd 1 lap later for Anthony Liu, trying to keep his championship alive. Then we had a safety car, and post-safety car, this big shunt between Anthony Liu and Deng Yi. Liu missing his braking point, locking up and causing big damage to both cars. A long safety car period followed, and the pit stops were held under safety car conditions. That may have caused a few confusions because many cars, 6 cars in total, picking up pit stop penalties. And when we went back to green flag racing, those penalties had to be served. Ye Yifei leading for a couple of laps. James Yuan also leading for a couple of laps, but both ending up in the pits and dropping to the tail of the field. That left the Nissan 500 at the head of the field with Nico Menzel of the GTO Racing Porsche in second position. Two cars that have struggled this year, and there was barely anything between the two of them. Bastian Buus made up good ground, but put Daniel Lu into the wall down at turn number 3. And there could still be a penalty for the number 4 car post-race that ended up finishing in 6th position. The winners, though, were the Nissan 500 of Yu Kanemaru and Hirobon, Nico Menzel and Brian Lee in 2nd position, and Max Mosen and Ruan Chunfan, Tony Nguyen in 3rd position. The championship rolls on to race number 2.
We will start the ceremony with the GT3 overall winners. We welcome with applause on 3rd place, car number 89, Ruan Chunfan, Maxi Mosen.
Ruan Chunfan and Max Mosen on to the podium in 3rd position. Their 3rd overall podium of the year. Still yet to stand on that top step for BMW. But the 3rd is a really good result. What about GTO though? Nico Menzel and Brian Lee. Nico looking strong all weekend around this circuit. But there'll be a lot of happiness back in Japan for Yu Kanemaru and Hirobon on the top step of the podium. Trophies being presented by Pirelli's racing manager, Braga Matteo.
Yes. Happy turn, happy turn. Yes.
Congratulations. Let's get together for a photo.
Perhaps not the result we were expecting when we were focusing on the championship. But that will be a very, very popular result back in Japan. Top 3, I don't think, is under investigation, but we do have that investigation for car number 4, and that has a big effect on Wei Lu's championship, because for the moment he takes a nice chunk out of the rest of them by finishing in 6th position. But if he is deemed to be at fault, Bastian Buus, on the incident on 3-2-1 Daniel Lu, then that is going to really affect. It's going to basically reset everything and leave us with the championship fight that we came with at the start of the weekend. Overall standings then after round 11. Wei Lu up to within 6 points of Bob Wan and Leo Ye. And mathematically, Prince Jeffrey still in there as well, 15 points back. Anthony Liu and Dorian Boccolacci, 20 points back. Ruan Chunfan and Max Mosen out of contention now, as well as Frankie Chen and James Yuan. Cao Chi was the reason why we had our first safety car period.
Alexander Sims.
Patrick Pilet
And the winners on 1st place are number 10.
on the podium.
Nico Menzel.
And this is the Pro-Am podium. Alexander Sims alongside Prince Abu Bakar. And Nico Menzel and Brian Lee winning the Pro-Am category, because of course our overall victors from the Silver Am category. Matteo Braga back onto the podium to present the trophies, thanks to the Dixell girls up there as well. And watch out for those Corvettes in the early part of race 2, because both Ben Green and Alexander Sims very, very strong in the second half of the race. Yaya Fei actually got the fastest lap of the race on the last lap, a 44.3 for his Ferrari, but they just missed out on getting a point by finishing 11th spot. And the two Corvettes start at the sharp end. It'll just be what happens in the second half of the race with the Princes. Some drivers have left, but Alexander Sims fancying a bit of champagne spraying. He's just come from winning the title in IMSA, so he may have missed racing with us for a couple of weekends, but it wasn't in vain. But absolutely loves being part of Team JMR. Of course, the Johor Motorsport Racing Team JMR, a basically new identity this year. And the Pro-Am standings look like this. Wei Lu and Bob Wan and Liu Yi with the same amount of points in Pro-Am. Prince Jeffrey with 136. Liu and Boccolacci also there. But still in contention for Pro-Am as well. Tao Chi, Bastian Boos and Ben Green now out of it. Pro-Am standings usually mirror the overall standings. We've got such strong silvers and silver-am pairings that that's why there's a slight difference between the overall and the Pro-Am, because they get themselves involved sometimes in the top 10 point scoring. Sort of tend to overlook the Pro-Am standings, because they should be fighting up for overall. So the silver category then. Third position for the 45. Despite making a pit stop 1 lap later than everybody else, the 16 of Sean Thong and Rio up there in second position. And Daryl O'Young, aged 45, and Jai Tong Yang keeping the silver championship alive just by winning this race. And a class victory for Daryl on his penultimate weekend. He'll be doing GT4 racing in Macau. So this is his last weekend racing in GT3. And Mr. Robert Neagle from Rover Motor Oil is the presenter. Daryl, of course, will continue to manage Craft Bamboo from a managerial point of view, but he will quit being behind the wheel. There is Daryl's wife and young child. And that's a pretty cool way to finish your motor racing career. He really struggled the last time we saw Daryl in that car in Fuji. They did end up with a point. And actually they were on the podium. But that was much more like it. In the end, just 1.5 seconds ahead of car 16. So the silver standings then, and 23 points separate Jai Tong Yang and Frankie Cheng and James Yu. Andy Dung is now out of championship contention, and unfortunately with a very damaged car at that. So will be a question mark for race 2 as to whether they can even get that 96 car running. There's going to be a lot of work going on in pit lane in the 5 hours that they've got. Silver Ram then. And in third position in Silver Ram, Adley Fong in car 13, and Li Chao. Li Chao new to that car for this weekend. Second position for the 89 BMW, our new champions in the Silver Ram category, Origine Fan and Maxi Mosen. And of course, the winners of the race and the winners of Silver Ram for the 500 Nissan. Obviously, the Lamborghini was looking particularly strong in that category in the early running. Went missing in the latter half of the race. Not quite sure where the 29 or what happened to the 29. Do you remember? I think that on the restart, when I thought I saw the 45 car pulling off to the right-hand side because there was a glitch on the GPS timing, I wonder whether the 29 was on the right-hand side, having clipped the chicane wall. I'll have to go back onto the onboard of the 45 and take a look. But I think that perhaps that was where the Lamborghini went missing and then limped back to the pits with damage. But we'll tidy up all the stories and get back to you for race 2 coming up this afternoon. Champions in Silver Ram then for the BMW 89. Even if the Nissan was able to take victory and take points away, it wasn't enough. Yuan Amaru in second, Hirobon in third, and then the Lamborghini partnership in fourth spot. And finally, the AM category, and those are your new AM champions.
And the winners in first place are number 8,
A pretty topsy-turvy top 3, because car 30, Rhino Ranga and Alex Lu Wei on the podium, and they haven't been on the podium often this year. They took a victory in Mandalika race 1. Otherwise, podiums only in Malaysia and Buriram. And there is Alabama Motorsports, Setuan Santosho, with his new partner for this weekend, Liam Talbot, alongside him, multiple champion in Australia. And Liam getting a podium first time out. So that Alabama car has been on the podium most, if not, no, it's been on the podium all races it's finished. Either alongside Andrew Bentley. We saw Martin Berry in that car in the early part of the year as well. Singaporean Australian. And now Liam Talbot gets a victory. So, congratulations to Garage 79 for a championship in AM, a repeat championship. David Chipantoro shares that this year with Christian Colombo. Join us later for race 2 here from Beijing.